Another Dragon Quest Day has come and gone, and ultimately most of the announcements were exclusive to Japan or relatively small, while the one big one that most people were anticipating was worldwide. And for me, I was essentially whelmed with the announcement simply because I expected this to be the one thing for Dragon Quest Day, and it was. And just looking at the information, it was basically everything I expected. There are some things that I'm relatively excited for, but there's mostly things like, yeah, I expected this, and there's nothing more about it. I'll go on more about my thoughts as we go on with today's video, but of course, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. It's free, you might as well do it, and of course, I really do appreciate it. So first things first, Hori goes on and talks about a handbag, and he's doing this whole giveaway where he has people ask particular answers that he's posting on his X account. It's a fun little thing from what I can tell for most of the people who follow Yuji Hori's X account. Though ultimately for me, I don't speak Japanese, so I didn't participate. And then moving on, there's also a huge sale going on right now in both Japan and the West, where a bunch of games are going on sale. And for any Switch owners, Dragon Quest XI S for the first time ever is going on sale on that platform, seeing how Nintendo's no longer publishing that version. So if you haven't taken advantage of the sale yet, or you don't own any of these games, yeah, of course, this is your call to do it. And then of course Square Enix announced a bunch of merch for this year's Dragon Quest Day, and I'm assuming for most people, they'll just go on import it from Japan over to where they live, or if they so happen to be in Japan right now, they'll probably go on and buy it. Though of course the biggest one that I need to talk about is of course the announcement that the Tokyo Metropolitan Symphony orchestrations of Dragon Quest 1 through 11 are going to be on Apple Music this summer. And this is indeed exciting right here, because Sugiyama Kobo is a very notorious company to work with. They mostly like people to listen to their music via CDs or through live performances in Japan. And here we are right now that they're willing to go out and put this music on Apple Music. And this has definitely been a tedious process of allowing more of this orchestrated music to be on the games themselves. And when it comes down to Apple Music, I kind of felt this is not happening right here. They're not gonna allow this music to be on a streaming service, of course. But no, Square Enix managed to work with Sugiyama Kobo to make this all happen. And quite honestly, I don't know if it's because Sugiyama's now gone, or Sugiyama before he passed away was in the talks with Square Enix to make this available via streaming. But it's nice it's happening nonetheless. But of course, let's talk about the one thing that most people were anticipating for this year's Dragon Quest Day. And that of course is Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake. And if you guys haven't been following my videos, I kind of suspected we would get the release date during Dragon Quest Day, and we did indeed get that release date at October 30th. And that's a little bit surprising because typically Square Enix hasn't released a Dragon Quest title, whether mainline or spin-off, during October in past memories. But this one, for whatever reason, is getting the October release date. I would have preferred this to be a September release date, but if I had to guess, they already have something planned for September, so October makes a little bit more sense. Though the other question is, why not November? Well, if I have to assume, seeing how shortly after the March Direct we got the announcement that Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrated was getting a Switch 2 version, I'm going to assume that's going to be the big holiday title from Square Enix that's going to slot in November, while Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D can slot in October. That's just an assumption right there, but it's a pretty damn good assumption from my part. And of course, the other big announcement in regards to Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake is the fact that we are indeed getting a Switch 2 version. And unfortunately, the Switch 2 version is a game key card if you plan to go out and buy physical. And at this moment in time, Square Enix hasn't said anything in regards to whether or not if you own the Switch 1 version, if you can upgrade from Switch 1 to Switch 2. I would have to assume no, seeing how Square Enix hasn't said anything in that regard, and companies like Sega and Konami are not allowing upgrade paths if you own a Switch 1 version of their game that they're bringing over to Switch 2. Though ideally I would want this to be a free upgrade for anyone who is planning to buy it on Switch 1, but also down the line they're also planning to buy a Switch 2, and if they own Dragon Quest 1 HD 2D Remake, they just get the Switch 2 version for free. Though gut feeling is telling me that they're not planning to do an upgrade path for Switch 1 to Switch 2. But regardless, it is what it is, though alongside the Switch 2 announcement, we also have the Collector's Edition, which once again is going for $150, like Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake, and in terms of the things you get, it's basically acrylic standees, though this time around you have the hero, Gwei Lin, the heroes from Dragon Quest II alongside the Prince of Candoc's sister, and also the dog form of Princess of Moonbrook, alongside the villains like Dragon Lord, Malroth, and Hargon. And just based on what we're seeing with this collector's edition, it's a little bit more appealing to me. I don't remember if Dragon Quest III HD 2D had Zoma as one of the standees you can go out and get, but just based on this one, it's kind of cool, and I was already a fan of things like Malroth, Hargon, and the Dragon Lord. Though once again, the other things that were on offer for this collector's edition isn't too appealing to me. Though moving on, we also have some pre-order bonuses, which is mostly similar to Dragon Quest III HD 2D's pre-order bonuses. Also, if you do have a save file for Dragon Quest III HD 2D, you do get some extra little bonuses, that being a cat and dog suit for Dragon Quest I and Dragon Quest II. It's cool they're giving you some extra goodies if you already own 3 HD 2D and you already beaten it. That's all great stuff right there. And finally, Square Enix had some screenshots for 1 and 2 HD 2D remake, and they had some influencers go on and play hands-on with the game as well. And first off with the screenshots, the one screenshot that caught my eye is one with the battle system for Dragon Quest I HD 2D. And as you can clearly tell, there's multiple enemies here. And if you don't know anything about 1, originally the game was a one-on-one combat system. You essentially attack first and then the enemy attacks later, or the enemy attacks first, then you attack later. There was always a simplistic idea to 1 that essentially worked because it was a one-party system and it made sense to do one-on-one combat. And now with 1 HD 2D doing multiple enemies, that definitely changes the balance in the game, and some people who've had hands-on with the game have mentioned that the way you get abilities in this game is gaining scrolls throughout the world of Alfgard. So that's definitely something interesting there, and we'll see how this changes the dynamics of Dragon Quest I. And in regards to all the videos of people getting hands-on with 1 and 2 HD 2D remake, the one consistent I noticed is the fact that they weren't showing any new footage, or they're probably not allowed to record their own footage for 1 and 2 HD 2D remake. If I had to guess, that's probably just because Square Enix is saving that for a potential Nintendo Direct, as there's already rumors going around from that PH Brazil guy that there's going to be a Direct the week of or a week after the Switch 2 launch. We'll see what happens right there, but the fact that Yuji Horii is already saying, be patient when we unveil brand new information for this game, probably tells me they're saving this information during a Nintendo Direct. And that was this year's Dragon Quest Day, and once again, it's relatively whelming for me, simply because I expected 1 and 2 HD 2D remake, I at least expected a release date, and I basically got that, alongside some things like collector's editions, these content creators having hands-on without showing brand new footage, and we got some few screenshots here and there that were interesting. Though the brunt of some of these announcements were from Japan, like the Tokyo Metropolitan Symphonies coming over to Apple Music. Though overall, I expected Dragon Quest Day to be 1 and 2 HD 2D, and it was. But anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, plus don't forget to leave this video a like and subscribe as well. And of course, if you want to see more videos, do check out these videos right here. I personally think you'll enjoy them. See you guys on the next one. Take care.